Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our May Superintendent Webcast. I know everyone is either already moved on to their summer break with their school district, or you're closing down here in the next week or two. So I know everyone's excited about a little breathing time. This has always felt to me like the sprint at the end of the marathon these last couple of weeks of school. So I know that everybody's tired but excited about the summer ahead. We have a full agenda for you today. We've got Secretary Friedlander with the Cabinet for Health and Family Services on with us, as well as Lisa Dennis, the Acting Commissioner for the Cabinet for Health and Family Services, as well, to talk about the pandemic EBT program. Tony's going to go over some KDE updates with you. We have Kelly Foster on, our Associate Commissioner with the Office of Continuous Improvement, to talk about that process. We've got Karen Dodd, our Chief Performance Officer, to talk about United We Learn Council, the United We Learn Council. We've got Christy Biggerstaff and Mickey Ray on to talk about the Letters program and where we are in the second year of that now. We've got guidance coming out on Senate Bill 5. That's that curriculum challenge bill that you heard about during the legislative session. So Mickey Ray's going to talk through some aspects of that. Brian Perry is on to talk about more legislative debriefing and what we are now thinking in terms of guidance that we have coming out for the non-emergency statutes that were passed this last session. And then we'll end with questions and answers. With all of that said, Secretary Friedlander, welcome. Lisa, welcome. We appreciate both of you being on. And we'll turn things over to you to talk about the PEBT program.
Thank you very much. I'll begin, and then I'll turn it over to the person that actually knows what she's talking about. This is the pandemic summer PEBT. It was the pandemic EBT piece, but here's what it really is. First, to the superintendents, thank you. You all have been tremendous partners with us. I hope that we have helped you and helped your students. We take very seriously kind of the charge that we have even in family resource centers and AmeriCorps and DCBS. We need to help remove those non-academic barriers to learning, and we want to be of assistance with that. We have what was known as free care and Medicaid. Please, if you haven't heard about that, feel free to reach out to me, or feel free to reach out to me, and we'll get you in touch with folks who can help with that. So there are a lot of programs that we want to help with. This is one we'll need your help with. We're going to be reaching out to you. There are two programs. There's a summer program and there's a school year program. This is basically students who missed your programming or will miss programming either due to COVID or school being in virtual session. So you'll be getting something from us, just asking for input and to verify that indeed folks were in your districts. We want to make sure that kids get fed. We want to make sure that you have healthy kids that come into your classrooms. And this is one of the ways I think we can partner together to make a difference for them. With that, I will turn it over to Commissioner Dennis.
Well, thank you, Secretary. And I'm not sure who is driving the slides, but if you can move to the next one, that'd be great. All right, thank you. So like the Secretary said, Pandemic Electronic Benefit Transfer, or PEBT, was introduced by the Family First Coronavirus Response Act of 2020 in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. And again, it provides reimbursements to children who did not have access to free or reduced price school meals due to a physical absence for COVID-19 related reasons. And since 2019, since PEBT, we began issuing PEBT, we have provided over $3.3 billion in food assistance to Kentucky's children. And this is our last issuance of PEBT. As you all know, the public health emergency ended May the 11th, so will be our last issuance. So we have a tight timeline for turnaround of information and ensuring that all of the 2023 funds are allocated by September 30th. Next slide, please. And again, we're going to be talking to you about two different plans, the school year PEBT plan and the summer plan. So we'll start with school year PEBT. what's different with this school year PEBT plan from previous is that no student will be automatically approved for school year PEBT. We'll be asking parents, guardian, caretakers to apply for school year PEBT via an online application. Applications are required, applicants, parents, caregivers are required to enter the child's SSID and other identifying information and the number of days that they were absent due to COVID-19 and attest to the accuracy of the application. So the parents will be providing the information regarding absences and attesting that those absences were related to COVID-19. Next slide. So who's eligible and what are the benefit amounts? So public and private school students who are eligible to receive free reduced price meals and miss school due to COVID-related reasons are eligible, as well as students enrolled in all virtual learning due to COVID-related reasons and who meet the NSLP free reduced lunch income, as well as our homeschool students who began homeschooling due to COVID-19 related reasons, and again, who meet the NSLP free and reduced income guidelines. And students will be eligible to receive $8.18 per day through the school year PEBT plan. Next slide. Now, this is where we need your help. DCBS can't provide any school year PEBT to any student without school district's validation. So again, DCBS will provide school administrators access to a secure online portal to validate student information and absences. And then we'll be sending out shortly an instructional email requesting the names and email addresses of school districts administrators. And we'll, again, because of the tight turnaround timeframes, we'll be asking for that information back quickly. Next slide. And here is the school administrator's role for school year PEBT. In the absence of, we know that many districts did not track absences specifically due to COVID-related reasons. So in absence of COVID tracking, we will be asking the school administrators to affirm an applicant's claim for PEBT and if the absence was excused. So school administrators can approve, deny, or edit the application details. So again, the parent can, you can agree that the information provided by the parent or caregiver is correct and approve, or that the absence was not recorded or it was unexcused, and deny or edit. So for example, if a applicant submits that a student was absent 3 days and your documentation says that they only had 2 excused absences, the school administrator can edit the application and change that from 3 to 2 days. And then if a school district does not validate the absent, the student's application will be denied. We'll be providing training and materials to help in this effort. Those trainings will and resources will include quick reference videos, quick reference guides, some handouts, and again, training dates that we'll get those out to you as soon as possible, but they'll be during office hours and regular sessions to accommodate everyone's schedule. And then we'll have an email address for support through this process as well. Next slide. Okay, and the proposed timeline for school year PEBT, we anticipate the application to be available mid-July and to last for at least 30 days. And school administrators will be able to verify absences anytime during the application period and through mid-September. And we'll begin issuing benefits mid-August through September. Next slide. So now we're going to switch gears just a little bit and talk about summer PEBT and who's eligible and what that looks like. Again, public school students who were eligible to receive free reduced price NSLP meals and were enrolled at the end of the school year may receive summer PEBT, and each eligible student will receive $120 for the summer period. And benefit issuance will occur mid to late August. And for this, for summer PEBT, virtual and homeschool students are not eligible. Next slide. Again, we can't do this without your help. We will need, KDE will supply us with all the students' demographic information, their date of birth, their addresses, etc. We'll need the school administrators to provide the SSID of each eligible student. And if we do not receive data, then we will not be able to issue students summer PEBT. And lastly, next slide. Again, we will have a PEBT hotline that'll be available Monday through Friday, and even from 8 to 4:30, and on Saturdays from 8 to 2. And we'll have other outreach materials for students that will be provided to school districts, and we'll keep information posted on our social media websites as well as our DCBS website. And again, like the secretary said, we really appreciate the partnership with our schools. We all know what the value is of food security, having our kids being connected with those resources. And again, this is something we can partner with together and make a difference for our children across the Commonwealth. So again, thank you so very much. We know it's a lot, it's a big lift, but every small amount makes a difference to a family and to a child. So again, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you all. We know we're asking a lot. Appreciate whatever help you can give us.
Thank you,
Thank
Lisa.
you.
Thank you, Eric. We appreciate having both of you on. And please reach out to them directly if you have any questions about the PEBT program. And thanks for your continued support on that, both of you. We'll turn things over to Tony Tapman for some updates from the department.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Secretary. And Lisa, have a great rest of your week. Just a couple of announcements and information for you. As always, this is kind of a new feature that we are providing on our website. Just information on some new competitive grants that are currently open from the Department of Education. You can see here that there is a Stronger Connections grant. They were due on the 15th. Not entirely sure if there was another one on here. Sorry about that. They were due on the 15th. So that information is in your PowerPoint, and we can switch that out. I think we initially planned on having the webcast earlier, so I apologize for that one. We want to announce our new educator recognition program. We did this about a month ago and brought this out. This is just another opportunity for all of our districts to recommend up to 3 certified teachers, teacher specialist, an assistant principal, or a principal currently serving in our Kentucky public school system. This is just another way for us at the department to say thank you and to recognize and honor their accomplishments. We are right now keeping the recommendations open for this school year through May 30th of 2023, and we will reopen it again this fall. Or later into the winter time, I think. So if you know anybody, please have a chance to recommend somebody in the next 8 days or so. And we'd love to hear and see someone from your districts. Also wanted to let you guys know, I know you've probably seen this in the Commissioner's Monday message and in news releases, but we are currently searching for a new principal at the Kentucky School for the Deaf. As you know, KSD serves students from throughout the Commonwealth, including many of your home districts. And we are inviting stakeholders to gather feedback on qualities that they would like to see in the next principal. So at the district level, there's an opportunity to select that once you get to this survey, and just let us know what you think, what qualities you think that the next principal should have. I did put a link to the job posting and qualifications for KSD principal, which is on our KDE website. So that is open until the end of the month. This particular survey is open also until the end of the month. And we have 2 forums that are going to be scheduled here in this week, and then one again next week. The one this Wednesday is virtual. If you or someone you know would like to attend that particular community forum, you can register through the virtual forum link there on the slide, and you will receive your link the day of the meeting. And then in person, just show up at the Kentucky School for the Deaf next Wednesday, and we'll be happy to see you over there. Related to the principal search, we are also seeking stakeholders who might want to serve on the interview committee for the Kentucky School for the Deaf principal search. So this here, we're allowing the form to be open until June 1st. And you just fill out this form. We'll say that they are expected, people on this committee are need to be available between mid and late June for the entire process, as the Department of Education hopes to have a new principal in place by July 1. So really tight timeline. Congratulations to Augusta Independent student for Erica Kegley for being Kentucky's representative in the Doodle for Google contest. We found this out last Friday, we're able to put out a press release on that, as well as share on Kentucky Teacher. You can see her doodle there on the right-hand side of the slide, and we were able to do a little story and get the story behind her drawing. Very inspirational. It was in dedication, to her mother and things that she's been through with her mom. So really nice story. And also she needs your votes. The voting is open until May 25th at 9 p.m. And you can reach it on the Doodle for Google contest page. You can also link to it on this PowerPoint when you receive. This is a little bit of our breaking news for the day, if you want to call it, at the Department of Education. We have announced 24 new members to the Commissioner's Student Advisory Council. These are the students. There's 25 new students that will be joining our current student advisory. We have one more meeting left this academic year, and then we will pause for the summer, and then they will start again in August. And so the students that are going to be incoming are invited to the last meeting, which will be next week, virtually, and then they will officially join the council in once the school year begins in August. Those are the returning Student Advisory Council members. So really excited, and thank you to all of our superintendents and district staff who nominated or recommended a student, and to all the students who put forth an application. We received over 100 applications this year, and so it was a lot to go through, but a really great, rewarding process, and just very excited to see student involvement and student activity. And that was the slide that was supposed to come first. I accidentally switched that. So there you are. Federal program lowers the cost of internet connectivity for Kentucky families. We've received a lot of interest on this from when we sent this out as a press release. This has been going on for a little bit, but we decided just to get this out there for you to share with families, to let people know that their families qualify for a program aimed at increasing access to internet service for school-aged children. This is kind of through the the Affordable Connectivity Program. And if you want more information on the qualifications and do they qualify, you can visit the link on the webpage. We've also included this in a couple of Monday messages. And again, we sent it out last week, have received a lot of calls about this. So feel free to check it out. We have 4 Kentucky teachers that have been named finalists for the Presidential Award. So congratulations to Marcus Blakely, Ford Creek High School in Jefferson County, Matthew Bryant, South Warren High School in Warren County, Benjamin Mulberger from Atherton High School in Jefferson County, and Brian Welch from Madisonville North Hopkins High School in Hopkins County. These educators have been named finalists for the PAEMST. They recommend, National Committee recommends up to 108 teachers to receive these awards, and we're really excited and offer them lots of congratulations, as it is a rigorous process. And then an update on our STLP event. We broke a lot of records with our last STLP. So shout out to David Couch's office here at the Department of Education, and all of the team members at KDE that helped, and also district level helpers. I know that it takes a lot to welcome nearly 20,000 educators, students, volunteers, and community members to an event of this size. Each year, the students demonstrate what they can do with STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, and participate in nearly 50 STLP competition areas. More than 13,000 students actually participated in the day's activities, and it was really incredible to see. Over the next couple of months, you'll be reading lots of stories about these student-led projects and through Kentucky Teacher and through the Department of Education's press releases. We'll also be sharing them with local media directly in the communities in which the student winners live. So lots to come on STLP. I'm going to toss off to Dr. Foster, and she's going to share with you some information about the Continuous Improvement Summit. Dr. Foster?
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for joining today. Next slide, please. I just wanted to remind you about some information that has been in the Monday message for a couple of weeks now, but we will be having our next Continuous Improvement Summit September 25th and 26th. That's a Monday and Tuesday. It will be at the Central Bank Center, formerly known as the Lexington Convention Center downtown next to Rupp Arena. We are bringing back Mike Rutherford this year. He will be our keynote. As well as provide some sessions. And we will also be recognizing 10 schools across the state for best practices. So the best practice registration is still open and was in today's Monday message. So if you have a best practice you would like to submit, please get those in. And there is a registration link in the Monday message as well as in this slide. So hope to see you in September. Thank you.
All right. Next, we have Karen Dodd and Audrey Gilbert. Karen Dodd's our Chief Performance Officer, and Audrey is about to graduated. I'm not sure if she's about to graduate. I know it's coming soon from Frankfurt High, and she's the chair of our Kentucky United We Learn Council. Take it away, guys.
Thanks, Tony. Audrey is actually going to give an update on what occurred during the council meeting that we had in April. But before we get to that, Tony, I believe you have a video. This is a little bit of a highlight as to what happened during the convening in April. So we'd like to share that with you. It's just a 2-minute video, and then we'll give our update.
All right, give me 1 second to pull that off. And if you guys want to, do you want me to do the video first? It might take me a couple seconds to get that.
Okay, Audrey, if you want to go ahead and give your perspective on the convening.
Sure. So our April convening was very fruitful. It's the first time we'd all been back together since November when we first met. Our groups, our committees, each came up with their new BHAGs, their big, hairy, audacious goals. And we discussed Portrait of a Learner together and how we can play a role in that implementation and what that could look like for us. We also elected our new chair and vice chair. So there's me, and then there's Sarah Hatton from Adair County. She's an educator. And over those 2 days, we really did a lot of big thinking together. We learned a lot together. It was interesting for me to see because, like I said, we hadn't been together since November. So off learning all these different things, but bringing those back together, having the deep conversations about innovation in Kentucky, outside of Kentucky, and the future of our education was really meaningful. And the conversations within our committees led to some great new goals for us, especially built off of that learning that they've been doing in the meantime. So now we're really moving into those more actionable steps. I know that we have one group focusing on graduation requirements. Another group is looking more at some competency-based education. And then I think one group is still working on their BHAG because they want to make sure they get it exactly right. So that's my update, Karen. And I think Tony's got the video.
As the Kentucky United We Learn Council went into its second meeting, the families of students got to voice their opinions on public education, including parents Edna Shack and Rashawn West.
A vibrant community makes a vibrant school, and a vibrant school makes a vibrant community. And so I feel like asking the community what it is that is important to them needs it to be in our process.
Oftentimes in the education system, we utilize teachers and principals and superintendents who all are experiencing the same thing all the time. Therefore, there's no innovation. When you bring in parents, community members, and others of that nature, we grow together.
The United We Learn Council held breakout discussions focused on how the state's Portrait of a Learner can be integrated into their work and heard from districts about what they're already doing to benefit students. Education Commissioner Jason Glass says it was a time for everyone to slow down and listen.
What
I've been most proud of is that there has been real engagement. People have pushed back against some of the concepts and ideas that have been brought up, and they've offered alternative solutions. Maybe we should focus on this instead. Maybe we should think about doing it this way.
The Council's mission is to ultimately craft potential policy and funding priorities, something House Education Committee Chairman James Tipton says he's watching closely.
I'm very hopeful that from what I've seen so far that we can come up with some positive proposals. The key to anything is you can have a great idea, but you have to be able to communicate that idea to the policymakers.
And he says there could be some avenues for reform through the legislature.
I want to take a serious look at our school funding model. And I think through the conversations this morning, it's evident that through that model, maybe there's some changes that we can make to direct some of these changes.
Commissioner Glass says he's thankful to have statewide input as the council pushes forward.
As we really are slowing down to get deep community engagement, different voices and perspectives, and use that to help guide the work going forward.
Thanks,
Sure, yeah,
Tony.
You're welcome. Yeah,
Yeah.
just shout out to Shelby County for letting us have. It was a beautiful facility.
Yes, it was. It worked out really well for us. I'm getting a little feedback here. Okay. So next steps, we this summer we're going to be asking members if they want to continue to be a member for the Cool Council. We have 74 members right now. Our intention was to have 60 members, but with all of the applications that we received and all of the different affiliations that we knew really needed to be a part of this council, we ended up with about 75. We've had a couple drop and a couple join since we initially kicked off. So it's roughly 74 members that we have right now. So this summer, when we ask them if they want to continue to be a member, we'll then look at our membership and just see like where those stakeholders are, how our diversity is. We were really trying to be incredibly inclusive when it came to membership on this team. So when people roll off, we want to look at that again and make sure that whoever is rolling off, that there is still good representation across the state. So we'll be looking at that. And if our membership does drop too much, then we will probably be recruiting again for additional members for the council. November 2nd and 3rd will be the next convening, and that will be here in Frankfort. And then finally, we are updating our web page. Let me see, I think I have it here. Well, I put it in the chat and y'all can't see the chat. So anyway, we do have a new web page that, well, it's the same web page that we've had. So if you go out to the Kentucky KDE's webpage and then click on United We Learn, from there you can see the council's page. We are updating that with some information. We're also including a new process out there. This is really just to be able to show how the council is working with the department and with the Board of Education. We wanted to be really transparent about that. So we've put together a little process map with some explanation, some narrative to go along with it. We're just having that run through editing right now and accessibility to make sure that it's very clear for everyone to understand. So I'd say within the next week, it should be posted out there on that web page for everyone to see. I think that's all I have, Tony.
Thank you. And I received a couple of messages saying that they couldn't view the video. So we'll check and see if there was an issue on our end. And I'll make sure that when you guys get your PowerPoint that we include a copy of the video. That was literally hot off the press and hadn't even been shared with most of the leadership team here. So we wanted to get it out to show you guys what was going on. So we're really excited about the work that's taking place. Thank you, Karen.
Yep.
All right, next up is Mickey Ray and Christy Biggerstaff. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you, Tony, and good afternoon, superintendents. Christy and I are very happy to be here today to talk about the opening of the Kentucky Reading Academy's Phase 2 registration for the letters professional learning that will actually begin with teachers in October, once the school year has kicked off again. And if we can go to the next slide, I'm just going to give you a little bit of information that will be familiar to you. But the purpose of this professional learning is really about students. That is always the heart of the initiative. So we are looking for ways to be innovative in terms of supporting educators and increasing student outcomes specifically for literacy. And so this professional learning is our chance to really make an investment into your districts, into administrators at those elementary schools, and into the teachers who are working with students that have diverse reading needs. Next. And what makes this unique? The first thing that I want to hit on is the fact that we are wanting to provide this professional learning for interested educators and administrators across Kentucky districts at no cost to the local district. So we are providing that at no cost to you so that more people are able to experience and engage in this professional learning. And so you can see there, Letters it's not a program. It's a professional learning. And so the intent there is that it will align with whatever locally adopted curriculum you may be implementing. But we're also hopeful that it will help to inform decisions around high quality instructional resources and what can be selected to align with some of those professional learning supports that are a part of Letters as your teachers and administrators are engaging with that learning. It is comprehensive and evidence-based, and then it will be sustainable. So we are utilizing $9.7 million of ESSER ARC funding to kick off the first 3 phases of this professional learning, but we have, very thankfully, the Read to Succeed Fund, which will further our ability to provide professional learning supports. And as Christy and I are thinking about what that can look like in future phases, we know that there are requests from middle school teachers, from high school teachers that also are wanting access to this learning as well. But you can see there, the first 3 cohorts are really focused on K through 5 public school educators and their administrators. And so if people are signed up for phase 1, if they're a part of that first cohort, they will not need to register again. So phase 2 will be a second new cohort of educators who are wanting this opportunity of engaging with the professional learning. Okay, next, please. All right, now I'm going to hand it over to Christy Biggerstaff. She serves as our Director of Early Literacy, and I just want to publicly thank her for the work that she's doing around this. She is on a presentation trail going all over the place, just talking about this opportunity for educators. And I know that she has had many conversations with superintendents as well. So thank you, Christy. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mickey. And that is the work that I have been doing with superintendents and district leaders and principals is something that I'm so passionate about, because I want them all to know that we are providing this opportunity. So let's get into just a very quick synopsis of what is Letters, the professional learning that we are offering. And that basically gives educators the what to teach to increase student success, why some students struggle, and then gives them some evidence-based strategies to help them overcome those struggles, and then how, and I think this is one of the most important pieces, how students learn to read. And that information has been trickling into our schools, and the email messages that I have been getting from Letters participants and the text are just so heartwarming, because it is information that they have so desperately wanted in the past. If you could go to the next slide. So as Mickey stated, this is open to all K through 5 public school educators, and that includes, it doesn't matter their role, that could be administrators. We do have a course for administrators as well. And just wanted to drop in, because I get a lot of emails about the rank change. That is provided by a partnership with our educational cooperatives. So there is a rank change opportunity available through them. So if your teachers and administrators are interested in that, they would sign up with the Letters Professional Learning through the Kentucky Reading Academies and get in touch with their local educational cooperative and sign up for their rank change program at the same time. Next slide. And just wanted to give you this information too. Earlier last year, after our phase 1 participants had completed just 2 units of the learning in letters of the 4 for the year, it's 8 units total for the 2 years. We sent out a survey because we wanted to know how the learning was going, if the information was being translated well. And overwhelmingly, the results of that survey was very positive. 433 responded to that survey. And of those 433 participants, 95% of them said it was new and relevant information. So I thought it was significant that we had that many people respond to our survey. It told me that they had something to say. And again, it was overwhelmingly positive. 93% of our survey respondents said that it helped them to meet the diverse learning needs of their students. Again, I have received multiple written testimonies talking about student progress, talking about their gains in their classroom. And again, that was just after 2 units of the learning had been given to them of the 4 for the year. So I thought that was significant information to pass along. I do want to talk just a little bit about the testimonies that we received. And on the next slide is one from a participant in Hart County School District. That is Courtney Line at Memorial Elementary. I won't read that verbatim to you, but I do think her story is worth sharing. It's a story that I have heard echoed throughout many of the school districts and the teachers that we have participating in letters. And she said that she had a 3rd grade student walk into her classroom and said, "I don't like reading and I do not want to read." She started implementing the learning that she learned within the 2 units that she had gotten through the Letters Professional Development. And she said she's immediately started seeing gains with him, actually an entire year's worth of gains. And she said in her testimony, is he where he needs to be? No. But I think the most significant thing that she says about his story is that he no longer says he can't read. He volunteers to read. She said that it has really impacted the way she teaches reading and how she plans her instruction. Next slide. A couple of more testimonies that I want to share with you, because again, it's what I have been given and echoed throughout many of the participants that are in the phase 1. And I feel like we will gain the same type of testimonies in phase 2. Mark Gaskins in Fort Thomas said this is the best learning experience he's had in his 19 years worth of teaching. Again, I get that from so many different educators. It doesn't matter if they have 1 year of teaching, 5 years. I've had educators reach out to me that are on year 26, 27, and they say this is the best learning experience they have had in regards to literacy in their career. Cindy Kennedy in Rockcastle County said, it's been the training that I have looked for decades. Every teacher should have this training. It is the best training, hands down, that she's had. Christy Rhodes in Jefferson County said, I have been able to apply my knowledge almost immediately. And I feel like that's what resonates with educators, because it's something that they can learn and apply to their classroom right then and there. Narissa Crisp in Scott County said, it's truly making a difference in the reading confidence and abilities of my students. Again, when I get those texts and those emails that tell me about individual students and their progress and their in a short amount of time, it's so heartwarming to see, and I know that it's making a difference. And last one, Christy Nelson in Livingston County says, it's given me a deeper understanding of the essential knowledge necessary for transformational change in reading instruction in her primary grades. Next slide. So now that we've given you kind of a taste of what Letters is, and if you haven't heard about it, what the participants are saying in phase 1, if you would like your educators and administrators to join us in phase 2, which is the second cohort, that registration is now open. It is linked there in the slide that you'll receive. We also have a Kentucky Reading Academy's webpage that you can go to. It has the registration document there. It will be open. It opened on May 1st, and it will be open until August the 31st. So you have some time to get that message out to your administrators and teachers in your district. And as Mickey stated earlier, September, if they have registered, and just to pass on this information, in September, they will get their login information for the platform, a welcome email, and then the actual learning will begin in October of this coming school year. if you have any questions, or if you can think of something that I didn't address on these slides, please reach out to me. My contact information is on the next slide. I'm available and so desperately want to help you and direct you in any way that I can. Thank you.
You appreciate that, Christy and Mickey. And Mickey's actually back on for some legislative guidance along with our friends over at KSBA. And this is legislative guidance on Senate Bill 5.
Thank you so much, Tony. So as she mentioned, Senate Bill 5, 2023 created a new section of KRS Chapter 158, and it establishes a common parental complaint resolution process for instructional materials, programs, or events that parents or guardians may see as being harmful to their own child. So the KDE has worked very closely with the Kentucky School Board Association to develop model policy as required by the bill. And Katrina Kinman is here today. She is the Director of Policy for KSBA, and she's joined us to lead you through an FAQ of sorts around some of the most common questions or misconceptions that are associated with this particular bill. But before I turn it over to Katrina, I did want to remind you that we have published legislative guidance for the bills with emergency clauses on the KDE website. And on that page, there is a general guidance overview for all of the bills with emergency clauses. Specifically, though, for Senate Bill 5, in addition to that general guidance, we do have a supplement. And then we have posted the model policy that was developed in partnership with KSBA and a procedural document that, frankly, I feel is very helpful, just some recommended templates and guidance that could be utilized in implementing the law effectively. So Katrina, I'm going to turn it over to you and ask you to walk through the FAQ. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you, Mickey. I should have a slide there. As you can see, we are celebrating 40 years of policy service. So we were delighted to have the opportunity to collaborate with KDE folks to develop this model policy and the related procedure for implementing Senate Bill 5. Next slide, please. So before I jump into the frequently asked questions, on last Friday, May the 19th, we sent the annual policy and procedure update out to all 171 districts that subscribe to the KSBA policy service, as well as 2 divisions of KDE, the Kentucky School for the Blind and Deaf and the Office of Career Tech. So even if your school district doesn't currently subscribe to the Administrative Procedure Service, we included this policy 08.23, the model policy for the complaint process, but we also included that related procedure as a courtesy to that handful of districts that doesn't yet subscribe to our Administrative Procedure Service. So we have been getting several questions here at KSBA about implementation of Senate Bill 5. As Mickey mentioned, it is already in effect as it had an emergency clause. But one of them is, when does the board have to adopt this updated policy for resolving the parent complaints as it relates to harmful to minors? The bill, which is now in statute, it's actually KRS 158.192, states that the board has to have a policy in place by July 1 of 2023. So if your school board is not going to have 2 meetings between now and July the 1st, what you may do is have one emergency reading of policy 08.23 and the rationale for that reflected in your board minutes. And then that way you would definitely meet the requirements of the new statute. Next slide, please. This one we really get a lot of questions on. I got one on it this morning, as a matter of fact. If the superintendents now have responsibility to determine curriculum under last year's Senate Bill 1 and with the required stakeholder input, then how does Senate Bill 5 and the policy bypass the superintendent when a complaint's received and appealed? Well, first of all, they're 2 totally different issues. Senate Bill 1 impacted many policies last year, and it took the development of curriculum and determination of curriculum from the council to the superintendent with the input from the stakeholders. What Senate Bill 5 does, that was enacted this year, it is very specific as it relates to materials, programs, and events. So it encompasses much more than just curriculum. It also very specifically states that the principal is the one to determine if the material is harmful to minors. And that's a very specific definition. The definition from the statute is harmful to minors means materials, programs, or events that contain the exposure in an obscene manner of the unclothed or apparently unclothed human male or female genitals, pubic area, buttocks of the female breast, visual depictions of sexual acts or simulations of sexual acts, or explicit written descriptions of sexual acts. Taken as a whole, appeal to the prurient interest in sex, or is patently offensive to prevailing standards regarding what is suitable for minors. So it's a very, very specific term and is different than the more broad curriculum decisions as relates to the superintendent. So as I said, the principal is now required to determine if the material is harmful to minors based on that definition. Secondly, the bill went on to say that if a parent wanted to appeal the principal's decision, and let me back up for just a moment, it's only a parent or a guardian of the student who may in writing file this complaint. So it's not the general public, it's not just a group of concerned citizens, it's only the parent or the guardian of the student that can file the written complaint. So if the principal determines that it's not harmful to minors and the parent or guardian wants to appeal that decision to the board, that's the next step in this very detailed bill, which is now statute. And it specifically states that the board is the one to do the investigation and determination as to whether the board believes it is harmful to minors, and that they may not delegate that responsibility to anyone else. In other words, the superintendent. So that's the way the law was written. So that's the way that it has to be implemented. So I hope that answers that question about the superintendent being omitted there. If you would go to the next slide, please. So what are the options that the principal or the board, if they're going to hear an appeal, have in resolving the complaint? Well, basically, they're going to either determine that the material, the program, or the event that's subject of the complaint, based upon that harmful to minors definition, whether or not that the material shall remain. Will it be restricted with perhaps parental consent, or is it to be removed? Or if it's a program or an event under that same definition, will it be eligible for participation by students in the future? So once the board has done this investigation and makes a decision, then their vote in a public meeting and how each member voted is required to be published in the newspaper. And again, that is all part of the bill, which is, Senate Bill 5, which is now KRS 158-192. I recommend that you read it thoroughly, and because it's very prescriptive as to timelines and the process that has to be done in order to make these decisions. Next slide, please. All right, so why is there reference in the policy to kind of dated U.S. Supreme Court decision, Board of Education, Island Trees versus Pico? It's basically almost about the same type of topic. This was, first of all, let me say I'm not an attorney. KSBA is not providing legal advice here. But this Supreme Court decision that was decided in June of 1982 basically talks about these same topics that's in Senate Bill 5. So we suggest every principal, every board member read over this court case, be familiar with it before you try to implement this policy and procedure, and work with your local board attorney, especially if you get an appeal. So this case, it's my understanding, was back in the 70s. A group of board members went to a conference where parents had a list of books that they found objectionable. The board members came back. They had the books removed from the library because they were going to read them. When the word got out about it, their press release said that the board said that they characterized the removed books as, quote, anti-American, anti-Christian, anti-Semitic, and just plain filthy, unquote. So the Supreme Court ruled that the First Amendment imposes limitations on a local board's exercise of discretion to remove books from school libraries. Boards have broad discretion in school affairs, but that discretion must be exercised in a manner that comports with the First Amendment. They also went on to say that students do not shed their constitutional rights at the schoolhouse gate, and such rights may be sharply implicated by removal of books from the school library. So whether the board's removal of library books denied students their First Amendment rights, it depends on the motivation of the board in their decision. They may not remove books from school libraries simply because they dislike the ideas contained in the books, or seek their removal to, quote, prescribe what shall be orthodox in politics, nationalism, religion, or other matters of opinion, unquote. In a variety of contexts, the Constitution protects the right to receive information and ideas, and that the school board rightfully possesses significant discretion to determine content of school libraries, but the discretion may not be exercised in a narrowly partisan or political manner. So we included that in the policy as a reference for folks to look at before they decide an appeal. On a side note, just very recently, it may have been last week, another school board has been challenged in the federal courts in Florida for actions taken under a state law and process, which is very similar to Senate Bill 5. So again, that reinforces, please be familiar with this court case, work with your board attorney on any appeals and carrying out this policy and procedure. Next slide, please. And I think that's it for me, unless anyone has a specific question. Thank you.
Thank you, Katrina. And as questions come in, we can address those as well and share those with you as needed. So thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just a couple of quick notes from the legislative side of things. As Mickey noted, we have already posted our non-regulatory guidance for those bills that had an emergency clause for all or part of them. We will be working to get our guidance posted for the remainder of the legislation that passed this past session up the week of June 5th. So please watch for that. That should give you a little less than a month before those bills go into effect on June 29th. Also wanted to mention that we are potentially working on some revisions and updates to some of the guidance. So please be sure and check back regularly to see if we've made any adjustments. Also, once the guidance comes out, please let us know if there are additional questions or comments you have so that we can address those if needed. The other thing I'll mention is that we have a presentation coming up to the first Interim Joint Committee on Education on June 6th, and that will be around assessment and accountability. We have not heard about any additional presentations at this time, but I suspect that there will be more as the interim moves forward. That's it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. I think that leads us to our question and answer session. And we do have a question in there. This is for Mickey in regards to letters. Says the response to the letters training has been outstanding. Is there a systemic plan to implement this training and teacher prep programs in partnerships with or in partnership with colleges and universities?
Thank you, Tony. Greatly appreciate that question. The dilemma with the letters professional learning is that both the dilemma and the positive component about it is that it is extensive. And so they can't just take the letters coursework and embed it into semester-long or year-long programs at the university level, but we are looking for university partners to participate in the professional learning. And I see that Dr. Darnall has jumped on as well. So in the first phase, we did have a few EPP faculty who joined in the learning, and we're hoping to have even more as a part of phase 2 as well. And then in ongoing phases, we are thinking about ways that we can partner with them to really evaluate methods, coursework, and other supports that are provided to pre-service teachers so that when they are hired and start working with students within your districts, they are better equipped to meet the diverse needs of early readers. So we're optimistic about that and are currently looking for partners in that work. And Dr. Danielle, did you want to add anything about that as well?
Thanks. You said it very well. We do have an EPP working group with representation from all of our preparation programs, and that has been underway for quite some time now in just absorbing the next steps. But we also, beginning this summer, have a consolidated group of literacy instructors from select EPPs that are going to drill down further into distilling this into a more manageable means within the EPP coursework. So as you mentioned, it's extensive, as it should be, but how does this look at the preparation level when there are a multitude of competing interests that are also in need of being covered as well? But the overarching answer is yes. We are creating relationships to work with our EPPs and further progress the candidates as they prepare to go into your all's schools.
Okay, I think that was the only question that we had in the Google Doc. So, Tony, I think there's nothing left except for us to announce that the next Superintendent Webcast is going to be on June 20th. So mark your calendars for that, and we will see you then.
Yep, and I'll get a copy of the PowerPoint and share a letter about the Cool Council in your emails here shortly. Thank you so much.